Hi, and welcome to today's Digital Therapeutics webinar. My name is Yael Hayosh. I have a degree in cognitive psychology, and I'm a sleep trainer at Days Sleep app, where I support our users on their journey to improving their sleep habits. Today, we'll be talking about digital therapeutics, the concept behind a lot of apps and devices that you may have encountered or even use for health and wellness purposes. Over the course of this 15-minute webinar, we'll take a deeper look at what digital therapeutics are, and we'll also explore the way they work. So let's dive in. Most of us can probably remember a time when we went to the doctor and came out with a list of tasks, both do's and don'ts, like what to eat, what activities to avoid, which medicines to take, and so on. If you have the memory of an elephant, you might remember it all. But most doctor visits take place when we aren't feeling 100%, and the mental and emotional load are already on the heavy side. But what if you walked out of the doctor's office knowing that all those tidbits of information would be stored for you on your smartphone so that you could access them later whenever and wherever you wanted? Technology already plays a large role in many aspects of life, changing how we work, how we learn, how we shop, and much, much more. So why not use it to the benefit of our health as well? That's the premise behind digital therapeutics, and it's what we're going to discuss here today. So it's worth taking a few steps back to understand how we even got here to talking about digital therapeutics. It all started with the beginning of the digital revolution back in the 1990s. For the first time, technology got into the hands of significantly more people around the world, as these technologies became cheaper and more accessible for public use. Once this revolution got started, there was no stopping it, and it really took off in 2007 when Steve Jobs presented the first smartphone, the iPhone. By 2011, 35% of adult Americans owned a smartphone, and today that figure is more than double at 81%, reflecting about 200 million smartphone users. Of course, with so many people carrying around smartphones, not to mention connecting on laptops and tablets, other industries, including the medical community, started to take notice and explore how these technologies could be incorporated to benefit society, such as advancing health. So what are digital therapeutics and what do they actually do? In a nutshell, digital therapeutics use digital technologies to deliver scientifically based treatments, the type that are typically conducted in a face-to-face setting. Digital therapeutics use technology to make treatments accessible to many people and tap into the availability of digital platforms to actively encourage changes in health behaviors. At the root of digital therapeutics is the knowledge that effective treatments or solutions to health conditions can be behavioral in nature. Even some medical therapeutics, like taking medication daily, are considered behavioral. So behavioral change can make a big difference on our health. But the trick is the change part. It has to become something that we adopt and make part of our daily habits. Doing exercise or eating a salad just once isn't going to cut it. That's where technology can come in to better health. Devices like smartphones and wearables can monitor, track, remind, and nudge us about things that we're likely to forget or be less on top of on our own, such as drinking enough water, eating right, and getting to bed on time. With time, digital therapeutics have come to be considered a real option for our society. A society in which, unfortunately, affordable, accessible healthcare isn't available to everyone. That's because healthcare systems today face drastically different challenges than they did decades ago. For one, the world's population has grown rapidly, more than doubling in the last 5 decades. On top of that, we live longer than ever before. Once upon a time, making it to age 65 was a real feat. And now, in developed countries in particular, we consider dying at age 80 dying young. Just to give you a point of reference, in 1969, when Neil Armstrong landed on the moon, he waved back at 3.3 billion people. and today there are 7.7 billion of us here. And even though nearly 18% of the US's GDP is spent on healthcare, making it the top spender in the world, Americans receive only about half of the care that's recommended to them. Nearly 5% of Americans, that's about 16.5 million people, don't get the medical care they need because they can't afford it. And while medical care is expensive, resources aren't allocated efficiently, with a lot of them going to addressing chronic health conditions and related issues rather to its prevention. Sure, health promotion is challenging in our fast-paced, often sedentary society. We have less time to sleep, eat healthy, exercise, and focus on our own well-being. But there's good news too, and that's exactly where digital therapeutics can step in to alleviate some of the burden. We can leverage the accessibility and personalization that technology provides to take our health into our own hands. So in principle, that sounds great, right? But you're probably wondering where digital therapeutics can actually be applied. They're a great option for helping people prevent, deal with, or treat health conditions that benefit from behavioral awareness and change, such as sleep disorders, diabetes, addictions, mood disorders, and so on. A big part of digital therapeutics involves helping you stick with treatment plans, even or especially when you've struggled to follow them. In many cases, digital therapeutics can provide that non-judgmental motivation, engagement, and encouragement that you might not find elsewhere. For example, a recent study conducted on Americans with type 2 diabetes using a digital app found that those who were more engaged with the app had lower blood sugar levels and were able to better manage their condition while spending less money on medication. Moreover, because of the adaptability and accessibility of digital devices, along with the general proliferation of smartphones and wearables for tracking everything from sleep and physical activity to heart rate, digital therapeutics can and have been adopted by different people in a variety of health circumstances. As that's happened, we've been able to gather an unprecedented wealth of data, which gives us a more detailed picture of the people, conditions, and treatments out there. It's a bigger sample size that's ever been tracked or researched in the past. And when we apply complex algorithms to this big data, we can come up with treatment plans that are more personalized than ever before. Using digital therapeutics, we can track individual behavior and provide a treatment plan that makes the most sense for that person and is more likely to help them achieve their goals. Okay, so I want to share a real case with you. However, before we get to that, let's quickly review what we've discussed so far. Many treatments or solutions for medical and mental conditions are in fact behavioral in nature and require behavioral change. Behavioral change doesn't happen overnight though. It requires a treatment plan and the motivation to stick with it. Thanks to the proliferation and accessibility of technology, this is where digital therapeutics can step in and make a difference. By fitting into people's lives relatively seamlessly, they create personalized treatment plans and form innovative trends in healthcare intervention. So just before we get to our Q&A, let's take a look at a real-life example. Meet Tessa. She's 32 years old and she lives just outside of Philadelphia. She works as a marketing manager for a large hotel company. For the past few weeks, she's found herself tossing and turning in bed at night, unable to fall asleep. During the day, Tessa feels sleepy, foggy, and at times irritable. She's not sure why this has been happening. Tessa has a smartwatch though, which she wears all day, and she decided to try an app to help her get to the bottom of her nighttime sleeplessness and daytime tiredness. The Days app uses the data already collected by her smartwatch in addition to asking questions about her sleep and wake habits. For example, it nudges her to log her coffee drinking habits, including those espressos she may be downing without thinking, and it tells her when to avoid napping. Days prods Tessa throughout the day. Sometimes she chooses to follow its advice, other times she doesn't, but she always knows it's there. And after some time, with the help of this digital sleep therapeutic, she's come to realize that she's actually not a morning person like she thought, and that she may be falling back on coffee more than she should. But she's also come to learn how to deal with these things through, for example, a friendly, non-judgmental reminder to go out and get some sunlight to help get her going in the morning, and another reminder in the afternoon that tells her that it's time to switch from coffee to water. And the best part is that Tessa can start zeroing in on these challenges and making changes from the comfort of her home with little to no effort or expense. At the same time, through her use of the Days app, she also has access to real-life sleep trainers like me who can answer questions, provide personalized professional support, and offer that unique human element available in traditional treatment plans without having to find or wait for a specialist. And that's one of the big benefits of digital therapeutics. Reaching our last slide, for a lot of us, digital therapeutics is a new concept or term, even if we've already unconsciously made it part of our lives through the pedometer on our smartphone or a sporty smartwatch, for example. When it comes to digital therapeutics, what we're seeing is just the tip of the iceberg, with many more innovative technologies and treatments yet to come. Personally, I'm excited and optimistic about the potential impact this has on our health as individuals and society as a whole.